Okay, it's Curtis with the urbanfarmer.co. Today we're going to be talking about essential tools and equipment that you need to have to run an urban farm. We're not going to look at everything. I'm not going to show you shovels and rakes and all those things. We're just going to look at some specific pieces of equipment and tools that are pretty much a must-have to run a commercial operation. Okay, first piece of equipment is some kind of seeding tool. I'm going to show you two different ones, but this is the more entry-level seeder. This is the Earthway seeder. You can get this for about $100 to $150. Works quite simply. As the wheel moves, it turns a belt, which turns a plate on the inside, which picks up seed, drops it down here, drops it down this furrower, whatever you want to call it, and then as you move, the chain closes the hole behind it. Works really simply. It does have some common criticisms that sometimes seed, especially smaller seed, will grind up behind the plate, and you'll get an uneven distribution of seed. So that's its biggest criticism. But other than that, it works. I mean, I used this thing for 3 years until I upgraded. Okay, this is a Jang seeder. This is more of a higher end piece of equipment. This one goes for about $600. And I like this one because it addresses all the problems that the Earthway seeder has. It doesn't grind up seed. It's very accurate all the time. You can actually use less seed because you get just the perfect amount of distribution. And it has a little a hopper that can be removed, so that's kind of handy when this thing is quite heavy, so it's handy when you're moving this out to the field. Say you just leave the seeder out in the field and then you just grab the hopper to go and fill up with other seed. And you can actually buy second hoppers too, so if you want to change over really quickly, that can be a little bit more convenient. But I prefer this than the Earthway. I actually rarely use the Earthway now, but it did get me started. But now I pretty much use this all the time. So that's the Jang seeder. Okay, next piece of equipment is some kind of rototiller or walk-behind tractor. This is a BCS walk-behind tractor. Has a PTO just like a larger tractor, and I can actually change the implement. So I've got a brush mower and a snowblower for it that I can use as well. I rarely use them, but they came with the machine when I bought it. If you're going to be farming commercially and doing an intensive operation just like ours, means that you have to turn your beds over multiple times. And so I'm often planting, well, I am planting, but I'm also replanting in beds that have just been previously harvested every single week. So I usually plant anywhere between 8 and 20 beds every single week for my entire season. So I'm amending the soil, I'm adding high amounts of organic matter, compost, the crop residue, and sometimes organic fertilizer. So I'm constantly building my soil composition. And that's the key with it. So if you're going to be farming commercially, you need to have some kind of rototiller. This one goes for I got this for about $1,000 used. It's about 15 years old, and it'll probably last me a lifetime if I continue to maintain it. New, they go between 5 and upwards from that, 5,000 upwards. And they're worth every penny. They're very critical to running your operation, especially to maintaining your physique. You can't be digging beds day in and day out. It's extremely difficult and hard on your physique. So one of these is pretty necessary for running a farm. Okay, so if you're going to run a commercial operation, you need to have coolage. You have to be able to store the product you're going to sell, because if you don't cool it, it doesn't last very long. So you need to have some kind of refrigeration. A lot of people like to think that they can start their operation just using old refrigerators, and you can do that. That will work for a while, but you'll waste a lot of time because you can't really store a lot of product. And you can't really store containers of product. Like earlier I was showing you guys totes. You need to have some kind of totes to harvest product in. The problem with using old refrigerators like that is that they're not big. So you can't harvest stuff from the field and just throw it in and deal with it later. With a unit like this, with a big unit like this, you can go and just harvest stuff as you need it. You can harvest multiple items and throughout different days. You know, on our farm, we stagger our harvest periods. So we'll harvest earlier in the week, especially in the summer when we've got all kinds of different products coming off the field. We'll harvest the less perishable stuff at the beginning of the week, and then harvest the most perishable stuff like salad greens and whatnot at the end of the week. And so that way, you know, on a Wednesday I'll harvest some peppers and beets and carrots. I'll just throw them in the cooler and I'll deal with them later. And then on Thursday I'll go harvest bunching onions and radishes or things like that. Throw them in the cooler. And then on a Friday, you know, I'll harvest all the greens and microgreens and things and herbs that are really delicate they'll go in the cooler, and then we'll process things as we need them. And so if you don't have some kind of commercial refrigeration, you can't really do that. Even with those small refrigerators, you can't just pile lots of stuff in them. So something like this is absolutely necessary. You know, you've got lots of space in here, and so you can just stack totes in here. And so this unit I got for $1,000 when I started, and it lasted me for about 2 years, and then I had to upgrade. So I have a few different units now that I use, and I just kind of turn them on as I need them throughout the season. So in the springtime, there's a lot less product coming off the farm, so I can pretty much just use one unit. And then as we get into summer and fall, when there's a lot more other stuff, then I'm probably using about 2 or 3 of them at that time. So that's the walk-in cooler. That's an absolute must for running a commercial operation. Okay, next piece of gear or big investment you need to run a farm is some kind of transportation vehicle. So, you know, if you're running a small farm, you're farming less than an acre of land, you don't need to have a really big truck. You can pretty much do most of what you need with, say, a small SUV or a station wagon. I've even seen people use their car with a trailer. I've got one of these Japanese right-hand drive vehicles. I really like them because they're super cheap on gas. I get about 400 kilometers on 30 liters with this thing. I don't know what that translates to miles per gallon, but it's pretty efficient. I can run it for about two and a half weeks on $30 of gasoline. So it's very cheap. I use this to take our product to the farmer's market, and I use it to haul compost and things that are dirty with it. So it's a very handy vehicle. I got it for $6,000, and so, you know, budget for something like that, or maybe you can just use a cheaper vehicle too. The reason I paid a bit more for something like this is because it's so cheap to operate. Okay, so when I actually started my farm, I did it all by bike. I used long-tail bikes. That's actually Extra Cycle, the company out of San Francisco, and custom-built trailers to do everything. We did all of our delivering to restaurants. I even hauled the rototiller on the trailer. I have a couple different trailer models, and I didn't always. This is actually a hybrid electric bike, but when I started, it was just straight up pedal powered. I didn't have any assist. So this has actually been a huge help to have some kind of electrical assist, especially when hauling around heavy equipment. So that concludes our essential tools for an urban farmer. If you want to save money when you're starting your operation, try to find as many used tools as you can. Go to garage sales, go on Craigslist, and sometimes make a little bit of a trip to get a good deal on something. I drove 4 hours to save $4,000 on my tiller there, so it was worth it. It's also really important to have the right tools, because not having the right tools is just going to lead to inefficiencies in your operation. And the key to being successful with this is being efficient and doing things effectively. So having the right equipment is really important. If you like what you saw today, hit the like button on the video, subscribe to our channel, and please share these videos with your friends. Thanks for watching.